Maybe you've heard of equine therapy, but have you ever heard of cow hug therapy? Well, you're going to hear about it today on this amazing episode with the author of a brand new book called Cow Hug Therapy: How the Animals at the Gentle Barn Taught Me About Life, Death, and Everything in Between by Ellie Laks. She is the founder of the Gentle Barn Foundation with her husband, Jay. They have been rescuing animals from all over for many years, for 25 years. They have three different locations, and now they offer this unique therapy that allows people to basically lean on cows and have cow hug therapy. Cows are amazing animals. I can't wait for you to hear more about some of these individual animals that she's had the privilege of working with over the years. I cried when I read some of the chapters in this book. It's so powerful, so amazing, something you probably have never even thought about. But I hope you'll listen to the whole episode because it's so great. These stories, this process, how incredibly helpful it's been for people. So join us now for this incredibly good episode. Hi, this is Mary Jo Tinlin from Teaching Your Toddler. Today we have such a special guest. I can't wait to hear from Ellie Laks. She is going to tell us about something that is incredibly different and unique. Ellie, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I have been in a barnyard for 25 years. I have love animals. I've been rescuing animals since I was a small child, and it just never grew out of it. I've also raised my own children, three of them. So that's been really, really interesting. I'm the founder of the Gentle Barn Foundation, which is a national organization that's located in Los Angeles, California, St. Louis, Missouri, and Nashville, Tennessee, where we take in severely abused and neglected animals who have nowhere else to go. We rehabilitate them. Once they're healed, we either find homes of their own or we give them sanctuary with us if they're not adoptable. And then we partner with them to heal people with the same stories of trauma and connect people to the love and magic of animals. I'm also an animal communicator. I've written two books, My Gentle Barn, and my second one coming out right now is Cow Hug Therapy. And I have lots to say about kids and animals.
Oh gosh. Okay, yes, and we are going to get into that. And I am so excited about I did just full disclosure, I did get a preview copy of that Cow Hug Therapy book. And of course, we'll have links in the show notes for people so that they can find this book and find you. Of course, we'll have all of that available. But backing up a little bit, I know that your first book was more about your background and sort of yourself, but for the listeners, tell us a little bit about you and about your special gifts.
Yeah, so my first book is all about my childhood and how animals saved me, how I wanted to dedicate the rest of my life to saving them, my love affair with my husband, who we then, kind of joined forces to expand our mission, about the founding animals that taught us everything that we know today, and about those first groups of people that came and really found magical healing with the animals. My second book is more the voices of the animals, the stories of the animals, where they came from, how we rehabilitated them, and what they taught us about life and being human. So it's kind of like a deeper dive into the world of these incredible, extraordinary animals that have so much to teach all of us. But starting out as a very small child, I have always been able to hear animals. I've always been deeply connected to them. I could see them, hear them. They could tell me if they wanted help or what they needed. I started training dogs professionally at the age of 11 just because animals were so clear to me that I was helping people that were struggling to understand their animals. I always vowed that when I grew up, with my very first job, my very first paycheck would go to the shelter and start taking animals out of the shelters that were going to be euthanized. And I did just that as a very young adult. I had a dog walking, dog training, and dog grooming business. And as soon as I had found enough clients with my very first paycheck, with my very wow, I really would like to resay that. With my very first paycheck, I went to the high kill shelter near me and started pulling dogs and cats out of there that were going to be euthanized. And my dog training and walking business very quickly grew into a rescue business where all of my time was spent rescuing these animals, healing them, training them, and finding homes for them. And that eventually gave birth to the Gentle Barn.
Excellent. You mentioned that you are an animal communicator. What does that mean?
So I think that, okay, I have a lot of things to say about that. First of all, I think that every living being on this planet operates with intuition. Um, the greatest example is if you're watching a school of fish. If anybody has ever seen a giant school of fish, it's not one leader fish and everyone else is following them. If you watch a school of fish, you can see that they're literally moving at the exact same time. The reason they're doing that is because it's kind of one mind. They're all connected intuitively and they're having the same impulses at the same time. Intuition is what allows deer to know when is the right time to go for water, or when they should start running, or when is a good time to start eating grass. All of us operate on intuition. I think, unfortunately, with us humans, the intuition has kind of been taught out of us. You know, at a very young age, we're taught to sit down, to be quiet, to listen to someone else, to follow other people's rules, to resist the urge to follow our own instincts and impulses, and to listen to someone else. Someone else always knows better. And so I think as adults, we find ourselves doubting ourselves a lot, ignoring our own instincts a lot. And it's only the very few of us that have really kind of held on to our own intuition and really allowed ourselves to trust it. So, you know, when you meet someone and they're saying the right things and they're smiling and they look quite pleasant, but the hairs on the back of your neck are standing up because something isn't quite right, that's because your intuition is screaming louder than what they're saying. Or maybe you're going somewhere and something tells you, don't go down that road. Those are all examples of instincts and intuition. So animal communication is just a bigger example of that. It's when I can meditate and feel into my own thoughts and my own body, so I know very clearly what's my own and what's the animal I'm talking to. I can close my eyes. I can clear my mind. I can connect with an animal using only a picture, and I can ask that animal questions and sit in the stillness until the answers come. And animal communication has allowed me, not only at the Gentle Barn, but with my clients around the world, to solve behavioral issues, health issues, find lost animals, and even connect to animals that have transitioned and passed away. I can reunite that animal with their person and relay messages and memories to allow that person to really know that their animal never left them.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Whew. There's so much to unpack in that. I mean, that's just incredible. And I think that I know that when you have, I guess I'll ask it this way. So your husband is the one who kind of goes out and rescues the animals, like physically. I mean, do you go with him, or is the communication something that you begin immediately upon meeting that animal, or is it when the animal comes back to the Gentle Barn?
My husband, Jay Weiner, he is the co-founder of the Gentle Barn. And you know, he's very good at healing the animals, and I have done many, many rescues, and sometimes we do go together. But if you had to kind of divide where's, you know, what does he do versus what I do, he mainly goes and does the rescues and brings the animals back to me to heal. Um, the animal communication part starts the minute we've identified that we're taking in an animal.
Oh, wow. Even
So,
before
for
you've met the
example,
animal,
what'd you say?
even before you've met the animal.
No, so like once, if Jay goes to the
I
slaughterhouse
see.
or to a
Okay.
stockyard or an auction house and he gets an animal and now the animal's in the trailer, he'll take a picture of that animal looking into the camera and send it to me immediately. So I can immediately, the minute we know that animal, I can start talking to them, introducing ourselves, letting that animal know where they're being taken to and why. So before the animal even gets to the Gentle Barn, they know what to expect. They know what the barn will look like. They know the animals that will be there, the people that will be there. They know our intentions. They know their bedroom and their food and their water. So they don't have to panic and be reactive. They can settle down. They can know that they're going to be okay. And they can walk into the Gentle Barn and see everything that I've shown them. And that builds a tremendous amount of trust right there, even before we even start working with the animal.
Absolutely. And I hope that the listeners will check out the links, the video links on the websites that we'll put the links in for the website so that you can watch different interviews that have been done on site to see the actual animals and see their interaction. I'm thinking of the story with the horses. I think is it Magic, and you had just brought a white horse, and I can't remember her name now, but he was so happy, and it was just so amazing to watch that interaction.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Dinara.
Okay. Yes,
And
the white.
that's a perfect example of animal communication because we got a call from someone saying that Dinara was lame, she was unrideable, she wasn't responding to the treatment they were doing, she was kind of like more than they could handle. They were going to possibly euthanize her and asked if we would take her home. I was able to immediately get a picture of her, introduce ourselves, tell her about the gentle barn, ask permission for us to bring her home, which she granted. Then I was able to talk to the horses at the gentle barn and let them know that I needed their help in welcoming this new member of our family. And her homecoming was seamless, especially with horses who kind of their main instinct when they meet a foreigner is to reject them. So, it can take a really long time to introduce a new horse. But because of the animal communication preparing her and our existing family was like, especially Magic, he was like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. Ellie's been telling me all about you. Come in. I'm going to be your main guy. I'm going to take care of you. And she was out in pasture with our horse herd within a few days, which sometimes without animal communication, it can take months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Huh, that's amazing. So we've talked a lot about the animals. Now I want to flip a little bit and talk about the people. So cow hug therapy. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
25 years ago, when I rescued my very first cow named Buddha, she was beautiful. She was actually, she's right here behind me. That's
Oh,
Buddha.
that's her. Oh.
She sits behind my right shoulder every day,
Hmm.
still guiding me and teaching me. That very first open to the public Sunday at the Gentle Barn, with a new animal, you're wondering, is the crowds of people going to scare them? Are they not going to want to socialize? Are they going to need protection? Are they going to like the attention? So I was really watching her very closely that first Sunday. Visitors filed into the barnyard, and she not only was she not scared and she didn't try to avoid the crowds, but she inserted herself into the middle of the group of people and laid down, inviting people to brush and hug her. So immediately I knew she was no ordinary cow. But later that evening, I was saying goodnight to all the animals, making sure that everybody was safe and feeling good before I went to bed. I passed Buddha. She was the last animal that I was to pass before going out the gate of the barnyard. I was going to just, pat her on the head and say goodnight. And the way that she looked up at me and invited me to stay longer stopped me in my tracks. And I said, sure, I can stay a while. And I sat down next to her and leaned my back against her shoulder. And what she did next literally changed the history of the Gentle Barn and my life. She wrapped her neck around me and she held me. And I was so touched by this unexpected show of affection that I didn't even realize the amount of stress that I was carrying in my body from the day. And I just found myself weeping into her shoulder as she held me. And she
Mm.
just washed the day away.
Oh my
She
gosh, you gave me
strengthened
chills when you said that. It's so cool.
and she just washed everything away. She made me strong. She made me feel loved and full of life. And I was ready the next morning to take on more work. And so these nightly hugs became a ritual, something that I not only looked forward to, but I needed at the end of each day. And then after a few weeks of this, I realized I am not the only person that needs these hugs. The world needs these hugs. And so it was really Buddha that was the founder of cow hug therapy. And her and I created together this way of inviting hurting humans to come into the Gentle Barn, whether they were children in foster care, teenagers in probation camps, young adults in drug and alcohol rehab centers, families in domestic violence shelters and homeless shelters. But I started reaching out to all these agencies and they came out to hug Buddha, to become vulnerable, humble, soft, and open, and to find healing in our barnyard. And we have done that for 25 years now. once we reopened after the pandemic, we realized that it's not just people and agencies that are hurting, it's all individuals. All of us are stressed, recovering, gone through changes. We have depression and anxiety. So we started offering cow hug therapy, not only to agencies, but to individuals. And so anyone who wants to can go to our website, gentlebarn.org, book a cow hug therapy session, which is an hour, have the cows to themselves, lean into these cows, receive their hugs and unconditional love, clear their minds of thought, let go of all that's worrying them, and find a very unique brand of healing without words, without thought, that you could just feel in your being. And I think everyone needs a cow hug therapy session. We offer it at all 3 locations of the Gentle Barn. And we also have other healing modalities like equine therapy and barnyard therapy with our smaller animals that help heal people as well.
Oh my gosh. I know in the book, so I read a couple of chapters, and I would charge anyone who reads this book to not be weeping through the chapters because it's so touching. I read the Buddha chapter, the Karma chapter. Oh my gosh. And I know that you have 3 cows who actually did give hugs back, right?
So all cows give of themselves. But yes, over the course of the 25-year history of the Gentle Barn, there have only been 3 specific cows that hug me in that special way that Buddha did.
Mm.
So Buddha was the first one that held me for hours. Then a few years after she had passed, we opened a location in Tennessee because of a cow named Dudley. He hugged me the same way. And then many years later, we got a call from a slaughterhouse that a cow had been born there, was not tragically able to save the mom, but we were able to bring this little calf home. The only way to save him from his severe pneumonia in the heat of the Los Angeles summer was to bring him into our house. And we raised him like a dog in the house for the first 9 months of his life. His name is John Lewis, and he wraps his neck around me the same way.
Oh my gosh. Ah, I just love that. I think that there's something interesting about you mentioned this in the book, in the new book, the Cow Hug Therapy book, about the difference between sort of regular therapy where you go and talk to someone, a therapist, versus the sort of wordless therapy, which is like with the equine therapy. People might be familiar with that, with horse therapy, right? But also what you're doing with the cows and the other small animals, right? That's wordless. And that can really work well for people who maybe don't have a lot of words, like an autistic person or something like that, right? But also for any of us who just don't want to talk, right?
Yeah, listen, traditional therapy is amazing, right? When you've gone through a trauma or certain experiences in your childhood and you want to dissect it, you want to talk about it, you want to learn from it, it's invaluable. But what happens to the people that are too angry or too shut down to talk? What happens when trauma is in our childhoods and we don't even remember? What happens to people that are grieving a horrendous loss and there's not much to talk about? We're just hurting. Those are instances where we need healing that we can feel versus healing that requires language and thought. And that's where the cows come in. I have seen extraordinary circumstances where parents have lost children, children have lost parents, where they're just hurting. Traditional therapy is just not going anywhere. They'll come in and they will just be transformed with these bovine healers. I remember this one woman, she lost a nephew, and she was very she talked a lot and very quickly. She moved a lot. She was just very wired. And she came in just like her arms were moving, her mouth was moving. She was talking a mile a minute. She was just very kind of like not grounded at all.
Mm.
And our beautiful cow, Madonna, sat down on the ground, closed her eyes, started meditating, and kind of inviting this woman to ground with her. And so I brought this woman over to Madonna and kind of was inviting her to sit down and lean against Madonna and close her eyes. And she would do it for a second, but then her eyes would fly open and she would start talking again. So Madonna and I kind of worked together to get this woman to like land. Finally, because no one could resist the power of these cows, her mouth fell silent, her body held still, and she actually connected to Madonna. And this woman was so affected by Madonna and her energy and being in her space that she actually ended up laying underneath Madonna's head. This woman just like laid underneath Madonna's head, threw her arms wide. And her husband came over to me and said, I've never seen her this still and quiet, like for years. And this woman was able to really exhale and to land and to ground and to center and to connect and to be instead of doing and to be still instead of talking.
Mhm.
And the woman that left the gentle barn today was a completely different person than the woman that entered.
Absolutely. Wow. How does that do you talk to the folks who come to visit? Do you follow up with them? Do you ever hear sort of like what does life look like after they've had a visit?
So we do send emails out asking people how was their visit, how was their time, did they feel different, and do they want to share their story? Listen, people from all over the world come for cow hug therapy for many, many different reasons. Some people are very private about their journey and want to come and experience and leave and really not say much, and that's totally their prerogative. Other people are very vocal of why they came. When they book the session, before the session, we don't ask any questions. We don't pry. We don't ask what they've been through or why they're booking. We just let them come and we let them experience the cow hug therapy experience solely for what they need it to be. But then, very typically, after the hour, while we're walking them to their cars, they'll want to share. And so, a lot of people will say, I lost my grandmother. I didn't know how to grieve. I feel so broken. In the embrace of that cow, I felt my grandmother reaching through that cow and hugging me and holding me, and I feel somehow stronger. Um, or someone will say, I'm at the end of my life, and I just really wanted to make sure that I got this kind of connection on my bucket list. Um, Other people will say, I have a terminal illness, and this is something I wanted to do before I left. There's just so many reasons why people come for cow hug therapy. And if they want to share, we're delighted. And if they don't want to share, then that's okay too. What we find, however, we always tell people, like, if this scratches the surface, but there's many, many layers to your trauma and grief, keep coming back. What we do find is that people feel so incredibly different after the cow hug therapy session that it changes their life completely and it sets them forward.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. The tagline of the book is how the animals at the Gentle Barn taught me about life, death, and everything in between, at least in this advanced copy. I'm not sure if that's going to be altered, but I wanted to ask you like life, death, everything in between. So tell us a little bit about what you mean by that.
So I write about all of the animals in this book, but I write mostly about our cows. Um, and I have seen them see extraordinary things. I write in the book about Karma, like you had mentioned in the first chapter, and she has an amazing story. But part of her story is she is the matriarch of our herd, and she came in with a small baby that we were able to reunite them. And then 8 months later, unbeknownst to us, she was pregnant when she came in, and she had another baby. And these are things that people don't talk about, right? Because not many of us have cows, and we're just getting to know cows as tribes and families, because unfortunately in the real world, cows are not allowed to fall in love and mate and live in families, right? So she started laboring, and all of the cows, completely on their own, formed a circle around her. And I had run up to the house, realizing that she was about to have a baby. I ran up to the house to wake my husband and my kids up and said, like, you got to come down. We're having a baby. And so when we got down there, all of the cows were in a perfect circle around Karma. And me and my husband and my kids found our place in the circle. And we all stood there for 2 hours while she labored, had her baby, licked him clean, dried him off, till he finally was able to stand up and be able to nurse. And we all watched this as part of it. And then when he finally drank his fill and lay down to sleep off his birth, the circle of cows broke their formation and formed a single file line in front of the baby, where the oldest and wisest females were able to say hello first, and then the more submissive young cows were able to meet the baby. And every cow took their turn saying hello to this baby. And I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe this absolutely extraordinarily beautiful tribal family ritual to celebrate birth. And it reminded me of being in like a Native American tribe or an Aboriginal tribe. It's like they all participated in this birth ritual. Similarly, I have seen a ritual where they walk a loved one home. There was a beautiful cow. Her name was Witness, and she was elderly and she was doing great. And then one day she laid down, and based on her breathing and her lack of mobility, it was very, very clear that she was passing away. I called the veterinarian, but he said that he was finishing up an emergency and would get to me as soon as he could. So what I witnessed while I was waiting for this vet to arrive was extraordinary. The family of cows, knowing that their family member was passing away, did the same thing that they did when Karma was having her baby. They formed a circle around Witness. And then the matriarch stepped forward, rested her head on Witness's back, stayed there for several minutes, saying goodbye, exchanging whatever wisdom and conversation that they had to say to each other. And after several minutes, the matriarch stepped back, and then the next in the circle did the exact same thing. And every single solitary member of that circle and of that family had their turn to bid Witness farewell. And once everyone bid her farewell, they went off to eat dinner, and they left one babysitter with me to stay with Witness until the vet arrived. It was so beautiful. They have a birth ritual, they have a death ritual. Family is the most important thing to them. They meditate every single solitary day. They're vegan and harm no one. They are a matriarchal society led by the wisest female. They always trust their intuition. They always go with their impulses. They groom each other every single day after breakfast. They are environmentally friendly and always leave a pasture better off than when they found it. They face their problems head on, and they are 100% inclusive. So no matter who enters their family, whether it's whatever kind of cow, whether it's a different kind of animal, as long as they're gentle, whether it's a herding human, they are 100% inclusive, beckoning us to be part of their fold and to partake in their wisdom, their nurturing, and their love. Cows are the most beautiful tribe I have ever had the pleasure and honor to know. And I hope and pray that one day our human society could be much more like theirs, because we have so much to learn from them.
Oh wow. I don't know how you go from there. Like that's just the perfect way to say it. It's amazing. Gosh, I had no idea. I think people listening probably have absolutely no idea what you just described, for both the front and the and the end, right? The beginning and the end. I mean, I read the chapter about Karma's birth, and I was just crying because it's so amazing, and just to think about the all the things that are going on there that we have no idea about with your cow tribe. It's amazing to watch. I hope that people will check out your book, because the stories that I read so far are amazing. I know there's much more in there. Um, Ellie, thank you so much for talking to us today. Before I let you go, tell us how to find more about you and about the Gentle Barn.
So to find out more about me personally and animal communication and the ways that I can heal people's animals remotely, people can check me out at ellielaks.com to find out about the Gentle Barn, to sponsor an animal, to find out more about what we do, to donate so that we can save more lives, to come visit or book a cow hug therapy session. People can find us at gentlebarn.org. And of course, people can follow the Gentle Barn, our animals, and their stories on all social media platforms at the Gentle Barn.
Awesome. We'll make sure that we have all of those links as well, like I mentioned before, and also to the book once it becomes available. We're recording this actually before it becomes available. Um, I'm glad you mentioned about the remote because I know there's probably people listening that are like, they might be in different countries and coming to see you might be a little bit of a challenge. So I'm glad to say that here that you have something that is available remotely for someone who might not be able to make it to one of the three locations for cow hug therapy specifically, right? You have an option for something that they could experience remotely.
Oh, sorry. No, for cow hug therapy, you pretty much have to
That's
come
on
and see
site.
the cows.
Yes, yes.
But no, for my animal communications,
Okay.
that's remote.
Okay, okay. Gotcha, gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. Great, excellent. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure to speak to you about learning about all of this. I think it's unbelievably educational and something that I think people really will enjoy hearing about. So thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.